Hello, my name is Dante Renee, and welcome to the 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more. Like tonight's film, this is 1972's Beware My Brethren. 1972's Beware My Brethren, and this is put out by Vinegar Syndrome on DVD and Blu-ray. Never heard of this film before at all. Here is the back. Some screenshots here that are very hard to see with glare. Okay. And this film is 92 minutes long, right here. And this is the reversible cover. You can find the regular cover online, a lot of places on the Vinegar Syndrome website. Beware My Brethren. There are oftentimes films out there, even horror films out there, or exploitation films that utilize Christianity in a way, obviously, that is negative. But the question always arises, is it the Christianity or the religion? Or is it, generally the religion, or is it the specific group of people that are representing the Christianity within the film, or the religion in the film? Oftentimes it's Christianity, especially in North American films. And is the film relating the group of people, or the cult of people, or calling them a cult, with the religion itself? These are all areas that are very interesting. And Beware My Brethren is such an important film because it's not easily defined in those typical areas. There was a movie that came out, and maybe, in the past, 10 years, like a more modern film. I think it was direct to DVD, called Believers. Which I believe was directed by one of the two guys who did the original Blair Witch Project. And it's on DVD, get it on Amazon or whatever. And I don't want to say too much about it, but the film has to do with a religious cult. And the thing that is absolutely mind-blowing about Believers is that it takes what is the typical assumption from the viewer and even from the filmmaker, the typical, and destroys it right before your very eyes, right before your very ears. And it's absolutely terrifying. Well, Beware My Brethren does not fit the typical mold either. Things are cloudy and very, very interesting. We're also mixing genres within this film in a way that I don't think I've ever really seen before. We have horror and sexploitation and drama and kind of shock and a religious drama and highbrow and lowbrow worlds meeting as well. The real amazing, mysterious thing, one of the amazing, mysterious things about Beware My Brethren is the fact that as the viewer, you can't quite grasp exactly or sum up exactly what the vibe of this film is. Maybe in the first couple of minutes, you might start to assume but then as the movie goes on, you realize your hand is kind of slipping off of what you thought it was or what it is. Beware My Brethren has the guy from Clockwork Orange, Patrick McGee. He's also in The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Miss Osborne, one of my favorite Walerian Borocek films, which I did a video on this YouTube page. And out of all the roles I've seen Patrick McGee in, I have to tell you that this one is almost one of the most kind of controlled for him, because he's so out of control oftentimes. In the roles I've seen him in, and he's so controlled in here. It's so essential and so moving and effective and serious. And not outrageous. Typically, the roles I'm used to with him are very outrageous. But he brings in all of the outrageousness, energy that he normally has, and kind of goes right towards a focused fervor for this film. Beware, my brethren. We have a variety of characters in this film. We have a church. Are they a cult, or are they just Christians? Charismatic Christians. And we have a church. We have a home church. Okay, this is something, and very, very interesting, because this is something that is more prevalent in Protestantism, the home church environment. It's been going on for a while, but where people would have Bible studies in each other's homes instead of maybe church. Some homeschool people do that instead of actually going to a institutionalized church once a week. A church building. And so we have a home church here. We have a journalist reporter. We have an older mom who we have an older son. We have a murderer with sexuality issues. More on that. We have a nurse. Incest. Sexual energy, sexual fervor, sexual temptation. Even with lesbianism. The temptation for lesbianism. The temptation for incest. So not actually, but actually, based on, Christian theology, if you think about having sex with another man's wife, as it says in the Bible, you have. If you hate someone, you've murdered them. Okay, so we have the temptation in Beware, My Brethren. Now, we have some unbelievable style in this film. Unbelievable style. We have oppressive cinematography at times of violence. And this is not a gory film, but it is a violent film. And the camera can also be equally violent during the violent scenes. People's faces in agony and the surroundings, the just regular reality around the violence, kind of with the violence, just regular reality and the violence all together, making a cacophony of hell. But we also have some very interesting editing and a play on things happening simultaneously with each other in different environments. And, a character's driving at the same time as a woman's at home washing her dishes, let's say. Okay, that's something that is used in this film, but you've seen it in other films. But where it becomes even more interesting is what this movie is, which is things happening simultaneously in this film that you do not typically see mixing. Okay? There's this unbelievable shot in this film of two characters talking in low-lit darkness with a cross right between them. And as a matter of fact, that entire scene is just, simple words, but the weight of those words and the weight of that conversation and the unbelievable acting in this film, that whole section becomes this hugely complex, tense, and engaging scene with just two characters and a cross, pure symmetry. There's this unbelievable other scene involving a police light, which makes a strobe light in the whole scene. If you watch it in a pitch black room, your whole room will be like strobing. Um, and the use of a flashlight in a character's mouth. So light. The music in this film also represents the simultaneous contradictions, the things that don't typically mix, in the way you can't grasp the film. Because on one end, we have kind of 70s gospel music that is done incredibly seriously and sung incredibly seriously. This film is incredibly serious in tone. But then we also have kind of 70s exploitation funk vibes. But then we also have almost sections that have a 70s horror orchestra vibe, like The Omen or something. And then we also have dramatic, orchestrated sounds. We also utilize a guitar in a unique fashion. We utilize a piano, and of course an organ in the religious Christian world of the film. Some of the themes and some of the questions in Beware My Brethren is kind of some of the ideas that we explore here are: can Christianity or Christian theology bring repression? And can the repression bring confusion? Or worse, can it bring death, murder? We even look at an issue in this film of religion and the medical world. And we see that in Christian Science, with, in the Christian Science world, you'll hear of, people not giving medication to somebody who's sick because of religious reasons. But in this film, we do look at those worlds colliding. We also have, in a way, trying to expose a religion for what you think it should be. Money-grubbing people. But again, Beware My Brethren will not fall into those holes. The other interesting area of this film is a serial killer film, in a way. And another interesting aspect is kind of a dominant mother, which we've seen before. But what makes it more complicated is mixing in the Christian theology into the mix as well. And some very bizarre, I don't want to give away too much, but some very bizarre, without being direct, without being explicit, very, very bizarre, incestuous vibes. And let's just say there's a character in this film that you would not typically associate with sexual temptation. Let's just say that. Never seen a character like this in a film associated with sexual temptation in the religious setting. Beware My Brethren has really beautiful girls in this film, in the kind of very sexually attractive girls in this movie, and tons of topless nudity in here. And also the nudity being mixed with violence as well. And some very powerful sounds in this film. The sound of buckets falling over, the sound of knocking on a door. It'll almost like terrify you when you hear it, when you're watching the film. And the volume doesn't even have to be up that loud to be kind of, shaken by it. And very powerful imagery in this film. The concept of baptism and the concept of being anointed, and the idea of Christ being nailed on the cross. There, as I said previously, this film uses an editing tactic of things happening simultaneously. It'll also utilize themes or interpretations simultaneously as well. There's some pretty, there are some pretty disturbing concepts in this film, and also this is Beware My Brethren is very important also because it's not a film where where a viewer could easily write off the religion, could easily write off, Christianity per se. And that's what makes this film even more complex. At the same time, there is obviously a distaste for the villain per se, and what made the villain and what is going on in the movie. Again, I ask that question when you see films like this. Is it representing a group of people? Is it representing the group of people, meaning the religion? Or is it the religion itself? That's where things get so interestingly cloudy. And in Beware My Brethren is sophisticated in its approach and very, very powerful, disturbing, elegant, dramatic, interesting. And oh yeah, and there's even that one girl who plays the nurse in this film, and all of her outfits are like short skirts, and she's sexually attractive too. Yeah, I got to tell you, it's crazy because just like a sexploitation film, we really have some very attractive women in here as well. So if you're looking for attractive women, Beware My Brethren will definitely have it. If you're looking for a religious film, Beware My Brethren will have it with some gospel songs. I mean, I think of Vinegar Syndrome's Etiquette Pictures label doing the Catch My Soul film, I believe it's called. I did a video of that on my YouTube page, not Catch My Fire, Catch My Soul, Catch My Soul. And Catch My Soul, if you watch my video on that, is very, very interesting with Christian theology. And in this particular film, especially near the very powerful opening title sequence of this film, you will see all the complexity of what this film is going to be just in the first 3 minutes. The first 3 minutes represents the entire film, musically and thematically. Because there's times during this film where you're wondering, oh, is this a Christian film? Is this like a 70s Christian film? Because, Catch My Soul is a very complex film where you're trying to figure out motives and intentions of the film itself. In this particular film, too, you'll have moments where you'll wonder things, and then, of course, you'll realize there's a villain here. This is Beware My Brethren from 1972, right here, folks. Right here. A very interesting concept also in this film of audio recording in the movie as well. The method of audio recording, and a swim instructor and a security guard. Very interesting. Thank you so much for watching a 10 Room Bizarro YouTube page where I talk about films that I believe need to be talked about more, like Beware My Brethren. Wow, what a movie. Truly. Please feel free to check out my own personal films at youtube.com/poopy diarrhea. That's POOPY diarrhea. Thank you so much, and good night.